Hi, I'm Andrew Smith, Reader Services Librarian here at the Williamsburg Regional Library. We're here today to talk about the high adrenaline thrillers that are going to be coming out this summer, as well as some other books that you can read while you're waiting for those to hit the shelves. We're going to start with Andrew Grant's Die Twice. Now, at the end of Grant's debut novel, Even, David Trevelyan was headed out to take revenge on the people who set him up in that conspiracy. When Die Twice opens, he has taken that revenge, but the heat from it has driven him away from New York and into Chicago. Well, the Royal Navy Intelligence Service Lieutenant Commander hooks up with a legendary operative, and the two of them together are searching for a canister of lethal gas that has the potential of killing tens or hundreds of thousands of people. And now that stolen canister is on the open market. Trevelyan goes after both the salesperson and the clients with a vengeance, and the body count starts rising almost immediately. Now, Trevelyan is a hard guy, but he also has a wonderfully dry sense of humor, and in those downtimes between the action scenes, we actually get to learn a whole lot more about his life. So, one of the things that he reminded me of, one of the people that he reminded me of as soon as I saw it was James Bond, the original Ian Fleming, not that super gadget-laden spy. Now, Sebastian Faulks, the critically acclaimed author, has taken that original format in Devil May Care and put James Bond, just the man and his gun and his skills, up against a villain who wants to take over England and destroy it. So, another great read-alike for Die Twice is Lee Child's Jack Reacher series. Now, if Trevelyan sounds a little bit like Jack Reacher, that's not a coincidence, because Andrew Grant is actually Lee Child's younger brother. But it's not nepotism that got him this publishing job. Andrew Grant can hold his own with any of these thriller writers. But if you haven't read Jack Reacher, Persuader is a good one to start with. Jack commits a series of murders to get into the compound of an arms dealer that he's trying to take down. This loner MP who's out drifting on his own is a tough guy with a sensitive core, but you don't want to cross him if you can help it. Now, our next book is by another debut author by the name of Tom Hinchelwood. Tom Hinchelwood's new book is called The Killer. Now, Victor is not having a very good day. He's finished a work project and he's headed back to the hotel to catch a flight out of the country when suddenly he spots a bunch of hitmen around the lobby of his hotel. Well, the fact that Victor's work project was actually assassinating a man and stealing his USB drive gives Victor a clue that things are not right. So he attacks that hit team, but now he has to find out what's on that USB drive that has so many people after him. It alternates scenes between Victor and his chase across Europe and into Russia, back to Paris and down to Africa, with his relationship with a young intelligence officer who may be his only key to finding out what's on that drive. There are also a couple of rogue CIA men who are looking to get that drive as well, and Russian special forces and assassins after him. So this is a high-energy chase. Again, a high body count, but it's also there's also some downtime with Victor thinking about what his career path has chosen, what his career path choices have done to his life. However, the pay is good, and he enjoys that part of it. Now, anybody who has seen any of the Matt Damon films will recognize the formula for Robert Ludlum's Bourne series, and certainly nobody did it like Ludlum. But since he died, Eric Lustbader has taken over the Bourne series and has published 4 more, with another one coming out this summer. You can pick up any of them. Jason Bourne, now that he's found his true identity, is out to find guys who are like him, but working on the wrong side. Our next thriller is something quite different. It's called Theyre Watching by Greg Hurwitz. Now, Patrick is a first-time screenwriter who has just gotten his script sold, and he's on the set working with the film when he gets into a fight with the star of the movie, who happens to be an A-list actor. Well, now the actor and the studio are suing him. He's lost his movie deal. He's back home with his wife, who is estranged from him due to rumors of him having an affair on the set. And he's in trouble at his job because of all these distractions. Well, that's when his troubles really start. He gets up one morning and finds a DVD in his newspaper, and it's a film of him moving around his house that very morning. Somebody is intruding themselves into David's life, into Patrick's life, and Patrick doesn't know who they are, whether they're a fairy godmother or somebody who's intent on taking him down for some reason. He can't figure out what an obscure English teacher would have that these people might want. It's great, scary fun. Hurwitz is probably not a name that you've heard of before, but he's got several other books that are well worth checking out. Now, it reminded me so much of Velocity by Dean Koontz that it was just an immediate link between the two. In Velocity, Billy Wiley is just an ordinary bartender, and suddenly he gets a note under his windshield one day that says, one of two people is going to die depending on what decision you make. Whether you go to the police, if you go to the police, this woman will die. If you don't go to the police, this woman will die. Well, what would you do in a situation like that? Read the book and find out what Billy decided to do. Now, the next story is called In the Name of Honor, and this is the big book by Richard North Patterson coming out this year. In the Name of Honor is a very effective legal thriller, much along the lines of the Caine Mutiny. Family is at the heart of this story. It centers on the McCarran family, which is a legend in Army circles, a Medal of Honor recipient, the current Army Joint Chiefs of Staff. But the youngest, Lieutenant Brian McCarran, who's recently returned from Iraq, is now charged with adultery and killing his superior officer. His sister comes to his aid, although he's being defended by Captain Paul Terry, a hotshot JAG lawyer who is getting ready to head off to New York in Hugo Boss suits instead of his fatigues. As I say, family is at the heart of this because the man that he killed, Joe d'Abruzzo, is married to, or was married to, Kate Gallagher, a lifelong friend of the McCarrans. So this sense of betrayal within Army circles already has many people against him. Then Paul Terry decides to go with the post-traumatic stress disorder defense, which has never been successfully tried in military court. Patterson brings out some very ugly details about urban combat in Iraq and the price that it takes on the soldiers who are there and how their families deal with it when they come home. He doesn't let those details get in the way of telling a really good story. He ratchets up the tension both in the courtroom and in their family relationships. So it is a great legal thriller with lots of good details and things to think about when you're finished. Excuse me. When I read that, I thought of Scott Turo's Ordinary Heroes. Now, Ordinary Heroes is actually set in World War II. It's the story of David Dubin, who was an attorney, a military attorney, who is investigating an insubordinate OSS officer. In order to do an interview with one of the important people in the case, he has to head up into Belgium to meet with his witnesses. Unfortunately, it's the same time that the Germans decide to come to Belgium, and David Dubin winds up in the middle of the Battle of the Bulge. He has to very quickly go from being a rear echelon type to a frontline combat commander, and his evolution in that direction is fairly amazing to read about. He's a natural. But the stories of combat leave a mark on him, and the tale is told by David's son Stuart, who has found out after his father's death has found some papers after his father's death that indicate that his father was court-martialed and convicted. He starts tracing that story down and finds out that although his father, who was a very distant and enigmatic person when he was growing up, actually had some fairly strong feelings that perhaps he covered up as a consequence of the things that he experienced in battle. The theme of returning veterans is becoming fairly common in writing, and one of the best people who's handled it so far is Chris Grabenstein in Awhirl. Awhirl is about two police officers in a small New Jersey town. John Cepak is a former MP who has returned home from Iraq full of emotional shadows from the things that he had seen and done there. He's paired with a young man, a 24-year-old part-time police officer who's really just working to get money to hang out with his friends at the beach and impress girls. But the two of them become involved in a mystery that requires the younger man to look towards the older man's, towards John Cepak's guidance. And he comes to see him as really more of a whole human being rather than that sort of hero worship that the younger man thought that he was going to have. So this is a terrific book, really more about the relationship between the two than about the mystery, although, as I said, it is a good mystery story. Awhirl is the first in a series, all of which feature titles that echo those fun boardwalk rides that you used to go on when you were a kid. Now, our next story is Inside Out by Barry Eisler. Eisler served as an undercover operative or covert operative with the CIA's Directorate of Operations, and he brings that skill along with his international travels and sense of detail to all of his writing. Inside Out is the story of Ben Trevin, a man who really needs to think of himself as being a good guy, even though he's not sure about the people he's working for. And in fact, they blackmail him into taking on a new assignment. He needs to track down a guy who stole 92 interrogation tapes from a Guantanamo Bay secret prison. The threat is that he's going to post those tapes onto the internet if the government doesn't give him $100 million in diamonds. Well, Ben teams up with a very sexy FBI agent, and seriously, is there any other kind? And the two of them set off hunting for this operative who, if anything, is better than Ben ever was at his best. Well, they cover a lot of ground in this, but along the way they find out that there's somebody else who is tracking the man with the videotapes, and suddenly Ben finds himself going from hunter to prey. Now, this is a very violent book. There are a lot of there's a series of set-piece battles, and so don't kid yourself, there's a high body count in this, but Inside Out also takes on the war on terror and really gives a very good insight into the nature of people and the effect of torture and conducting enhanced interrogations on the people who are asked to do it on our behalf. Now, Dan Fesperman's The Prisoner of Guantanamo is a great read-alike to this one. The lead character in this is an FBI agent, one of the only ones who actually speaks Yemeni, and he's working at Camp Delta in Guantanamo to interrogate some of the Al-Qaeda suspects who are being held there. Well, since he's an FBI agent, he does have training in crime scene investigations, and when the body of a drowned reservist washes up on the Guantanamo beach, he's the one who's given the assignment to investigate it. But then the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, some others that he doesn't have any idea who they're affiliated with, and Cuban intelligence get involved. And that's when his life gets really complicated. Once again, this one has a number of moral gray areas and gives you lots of things to think about along with the action of the story. Now, our final book today is also a debut novel by Dana Haynes called Crashers. Crashers is the story of what happens when an airplane goes down and the National Transportation Safety Board sends their investigators from all over the country. They gather together to examine the electronics, the mechanical operations, the pilot's actions, what they can hear on that black box, and what happened to the passengers who died in the accident. The investigation in this case is led by Tommy Tomzik, who is a former crasher, but happened to be closest to the site of this latest accident, a passenger jet that went down with over 150 people aboard, and they can't find any reason for it to have happened. Now, an FBI agent gets involved in the investigation because he's sent to look for evidence that it's perhaps a crime scene. But at the same time, this FBI agent is staying in contact with a young woman, an undercover operative, who happens to have crossed paths with a group of Irish terrorists. Well, the two stories begin to come together, and before they know it, the crashers have to come up with a reason for this because there's evidence that there's another crash that's going to happen in 3 days, this one with serious repercussions. Great series, it's a great relationship among the members of the team, a great depiction of that relationship, a good example of the way two federal agencies could work together, and also features a female character who just absolutely kicks back when she's not fighting with other people. Very suspenseful, very fun story. The ending is explosive, and you will really enjoy that. Now, it brought me to Kathy Reich's Temperance Brennan series, especially Fatal Voyage, in which Temperance Brennan is investigating a plane crash that takes place in North Carolina. And in the midst of the trauma, she discovers a disembodied shoe that can't be, or a disembodied foot that can't be traced to anybody who was supposed to be aboard the plane. Kathy Reichs has been writing the Temperance Brennan series for many years. She's very knowledgeable at forensics. She's actually a forensic pathologist herself, and is by far the superior of anybody else who is writing on the forensic scene. Another book that interested me along the same lines is James W. Houston's Marine One. In this story, the president is on Marine One, flying out towards Camp David for a secret meeting, when suddenly the helicopter crashes. Well, immediately the accusations begin to fly. The helicopter was built by a French company. Was this sabotage? Was this incompetence? Why did the helicopter go down? Well, it's up to attorney Mike Nolan, who is himself a helicopter pilot, to uncover the reason why, even as he is representing WorldCopter, the builder of the helicopter. And then he gets hit by a lawsuit on behalf of the First Lady by a publicity-hungry bulldog lawyer who just will use every trick in the book to make his case. So those are some of the great summer reads that we've got coming out, and some alternatives to check out while you are waiting for those to hit the shelf or for your name to come up on the hold list. But in the meantime, come see us at the Williamsburg Library or at the James City County Library, or visit us at the website www.wrl.org. You'll find a great series of book lists along with the library's Looking for a Good Book service that can help you identify some of your own personal reads. So thank you for checking in at your library, and grab yourself a cold drink and your sunglasses and kick back for those hot summer reads.